Hello, I'm ABX Toycat, and welcome back to the second channel video. Today I have some more Geography of Toycat for you all. It's everyone's favourite second channel series where I talk about geography and the world and stuff. And today I wanted to talk about this world map that we use and that everyone knows and talks about. And not about like the inaccuracies or anything like that, but instead I wanted to talk about the fact that it changes. And everyone knows that the world map changes because obviously new countries come into be every so often. And oh yeah, there was a new country like 5 years ago. But truth be told, the world map is changing even more often than that. And in fact, in the past week, there have been two big changes, one of which is technically proposed, but there have been two changes to the map in just this past week, and that was really interesting to me, and I'm going to share with you all in today's video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you all the most recent changes to the world map, because two borders between, I guess, 4 separate countries have been changed, and I think that, yeah, I'd go through what that is, and maybe you'd be interested, because the map changed. That's right, if you have a physical map from over a week ago, it is now out of date, because of two reasons. The bigger of the two is actually to do with it's the Belgium-Netherlands border. So the Belgium-Netherlands border is really complex for a whole bunch of reasons. It goes back to like before nation states were really a proper concept, and also the two countries existed as one entity until like 150 years ago. And as a result of that, when they drew up the border, there's a whole bunch of complexities, and I'm looking at this, the village of Bar, which I may make a whole video on at some point. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of complexities of their border, but one of those is the fact that they drew their border over at Maastricht over here, or Maastricht, I can't say it, but I'm bad at words. But over here, you can actually see that they actually drew the border in a particularly weird way. And although some of this is intentional, for some reason that's actually an intentional part of the border, they decided to actually even out the the border, because they drew the border based on how the river was at the time. But as you're all aware, rivers actually change, and in this case, they actually decided to just smooth out the river and make it, more of a straight thing. And as a result, they ended up with this really weird situation where the Netherlands owns a little bit of land over here on the Belgium side, which they can't do anything with, and Belgium has the same thing over here, where this belongs to Belgium but is entirely attached to the Netherlands, and the same thing is true over here too. Again, a little bit belongs to Belgium, but it's entirely attached to the Netherlands. However, what they're going to be doing, they've announced that it's happening, and it's got like a fixed date, like it's all signed and treated, etc. What's going to happen is they are going to actually exchange these pieces of land, and as a result, the Netherlands is going to gain this bit of land and that bit of land, and as a result, Belgium is going to gain that bit of land, which actually means that Belgium is going to shrink, the first country to shrink in quite some time, and the Netherlands is actually going to expand. It's by a very tiny amount, it's like by some small number of square miles, but still, Netherlands is expanding, and it's done it in an entirely legal way, and isn't that lovely? That's the whole story that I saw, and I was like, wow, look, it's like Geography of Toycat, but within the news. But the second bit of, the second border change, which happened on the 30th of, November officially, so that's when it officially took place, and apparently Google Maps has updated already, is actually to do with the Bangladesh-India border. So yeah, this is one of those borders that was just insanely complex, and it actually had loads of cool, only thing in the world, such as a third order enclave. So there was actually a piece of India which was inside Bangladesh, which was inside India, which was inside Bangladesh. It's hard to even comprehend that, but that was a thing that actually happened because of the weird way their border was set up. However, because they had been negotiating for something like 40 years at that point to actually fix the border, as I made the video, it looked like it wasn't going through because India was like, no, we're not ratifying that. However, what actually happened is they did decide to ratify, and it went through again in the middle of this year and truly took place again just a week ago, and now maps have been updated. So this is what the border looks like. It's a mess, but it doesn't contain any enclaves or exclaves, or at least not any major ones. This is, let me actually, because it's funny now, because if you go back to my old video on the weirdest borders in the world, you can actually see this is what the border looks like here. So, oh look, there's old Toycat with isn't he so young in that video from... It's actually almost just over a year ago now. But yeah, if you look at this video right here, you can actually see the border is just such a mess. And then you come back to today, it's still kind of messy, but there are no enclaves and exclaves. And that means that the world's only, third order exclave is gone. So yeah, it's really bizarre to me. Maybe at some point they decide to even out the border more. I don't think that's reality of thing. But yeah, they actually traded some ridiculous number of exclaves. And in a similar kind of agreement, India actually got smaller because they traded more land than they got. And Bangladesh got larger. So yeah, you might be curious as to exactly how that even works with that many. Basically, they just said everything that's in your territory, in some form, goes to you. Everything that's in mine goes to me. And again, that's why India didn't really want to go through with it, because they technically lost a little bit more. But now their borders straightened out again. Straightened is in relative terms. There's no more enclaves and exclaves going on there, which again means that now the world of geography has changed, because the term third order exclave does not exist in the world. It's now a theoretical concept, which is I don't know, that's bizarre. If you like your world, you like your map stuff, then it's kind of interesting to me that it's gone now. A cool thing is not there anymore, and it was only cool because it was ridiculous, but it's gone now. So yeah, they're the most recent changed borders in the world. I was actually looking into it, so I was like, how often does this happen then? And there's a lot of examples of recently changed borders. The big one, which I always forget about, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of a shame, is the Sevastopol part of Ukraine, or the Crimea, I should say. This actually got annexed by Russia, so now there's a jaggedy line on Google Maps, because obviously it's a disputed border, like no one actually acknowledges it besides Russia. But yeah, this is functionally a part of Russia, which means Ukraine and Russia gained land and Ukraine didn't. But because that wasn't through diplomatic agreement, we can't really count that. However, a lot of countries do just diplomatically agree to change things, but it's usually maritime borders, and to some extent, sometimes that controls land, such as Egypt agreed to give the islands of Tiran and Zanzibar to Saudi Arabia, so isn't that nice? And I think in the case of, I think it was Peru and Chile, like they decided to actually settle their border. There's a lot of stuff like that, but it's usually not quite as big of a deal as one country getting bigger and another country getting smaller, unless, again, when you get to the Ukraine area, where it's like, ooh, yeah, let's maybe avoid that and just talk about how great a, success story the Belgium's-Netherlands thing is. So yeah, happy times, maps have changed, your physical maps are out of date, so if you're ever looking really closely at the Belgium-Netherlands border, or the India-Bangladesh border, or anything like that, just keep in mind that it's wrong, because that's something you gotta do all the time, right? Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. It's some amount of time past midnight here, but I really wanted to talk about this, because, again, I just saw it while I was looking at something else, and I was just like, wow, that's November 30th, 2016 that happened. Because, for the long, so to do it, the India-Bangladesh one was just not going to happen, but it happened, and isn't that wonderful? Hope you all enjoyed the video. Progress is a thing, apparently. Isn't that nice? See you all next time. Goodbye. This waving is goodbye. Oh, I learned the hotkey, by the way. I actually set one up. I believe it's F9, so it should stop now.